When determining images in plane mirrors, the two things that will help us the most is a protractor and a ruler. So let's say we have this object and we want to view it in a plane mirror. And so this is my plane mirror. And remember, because of the convention, the front side of the edge here would be the shiny side, and these dashed lines represent the dull side. So therefore, this is the reflective side, the dull side of the mirror. So we will have a ray travel perpendicular to the mirror. When it strikes the mirror, it'll be reflected back on itself. The reflected ray will then be extended behind the mirror. So now we know that this point of the object will be somewhere along this line. To determine where on that line it is, we'll measure its distance from the mirror, and then we'll measure the same distance behind the mirror and we'll make a mark. So that we know that this point will be over here. Now, to show how the eye will view this point, we will draw a ray that would be reflected as if it came from this point. So I'm going to put my ruler so that I connect the point and my eye. And I'm going to draw a reflected ray that travels from the mirror to the eye. Okay, now remember, we have a solid line before the mirror, and then we'll have a dashed line behind the mirror. Now I have to connect now or supply an incident ray that would travel from here to hit the mirror to reflect off to hit the eye. That would be this ray that allows us to see that point. So I'll pull my protractor, I'll add my normal, I'll measure my angle of incidence, I'll measure the same angle of reflection. I'll measure my angle of reflection, then I'll add my angle of incidence, and then I can add my incident ray. Okay, this is my angle of incidence because it's between the incident ray and the mirror. And it's the incident ray because it's the one traveling to the mirror. Now, likewise, we can do the bottom of the object. We have a ray travel in and reflected back out on itself. This was perpendicular to the mirror. We extend it behind the mirror with a dashed line. We measure our distance from the mirror to the object. We'll measure the same distance to the front, from the front of the mirror to the image. We'll add a ray as if it came from this point on the image. We'll extend it as a dotted line because it's a virtual ray behind the mirror. We'll add our normal, measure our angle of reflection, then add our angle of incident, and then add our incident ray. Okay, and now because I have two reflected rays meeting, I can add my image. Okay, likewise, even if my mirror appears to be at an angle, okay, we have our incident ray with a reflected ray, we extend it behind, we measure our distance, we add our point, we add a reflected ray, we measure our angle of reflection, we put the same angle of incident, and we add an incident ray. Okay, then we do the same for the bottom, perpendicular, measure the distance, add the point, add a reflected ray as if it's coming from the eye, measure our angle of reflection, measure our angle of incident, add the incident ray so that it can hit the eye, and then add the image.